All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're taking a deep dive into an absolutely essential tool for anyone working with Windows Server, Hyper-V Manager. And we're going to be focusing on all the cool new stuff packed into the 2025 edition. But, before we get into all the features and buttons, let's just start with the big idea, the core question that gets to the heart of why this technology even exists in the first place. How do you take one single, powerful physical server and safely, efficiently, and securely carve it up into a whole bunch of independent virtual servers? Well, the answer to that, of course, is virtualization. And the tool that gives you that direct, hands-on control over the entire process in the Windows world, well, that's Hyper-V Manager. I want you to think of it as your command console. It's the main dashboard for the entire virtual ecosystem that's living on your server. It's where you create, manage, and basically play digital landlord to all of your virtual machines. Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at its role as that main command center. Then, we'll get into the core tools you'll be using every day. After that, the really exciting part, what's new in 2025. Then we'll see how it fits in with other management tools, and we'll wrap it all up with why Hyper-V is still so incredibly important. Let's get started. So first up, the virtualization command center. I really love this digital landlord analogy because it just perfectly captures what Hyper-V Manager does. It's not just some boring list of machines. It's the interface you use to manage your entire virtual property. And here's where the real magic of virtualization happens. You take one physical box, right? One set of processors, one big pool of memory, and you use this control panel to just slice it up. You can spin up a virtual server for your web apps, another one for a database, and maybe a third one for your dev team to play around in. And they're all running in total isolation on that one machine. And that right there is the very essence of hardware efficiency. So that's the big picture. But what do you actually do in there day in and day out? Well, that brings us to your core toolkit, which we can really break down into 4 essential pillars of control. This slide, honestly, it simplifies everything you need to know. It all comes down to these 4 things: managing the virtual machines themselves, allocating the resources like CPU and memory, setting up all their networking, and configuring the host server they all live on. If you can master these 4 areas, you've pretty much mastered Hyper-V. Now, let's dive into that first pillar, VM management. These are your absolute bread and butter actions. You're creating new virtual machines, you're starting and stopping them, and you're constantly tweaking their settings. And number 3, snapshots. Or, as they're now called, checkpoints. Oh man, this is an absolute lifesaver. It lets you capture the exact state of a VM at a single moment. So if a Windows update goes sideways, you can literally just rewind back to that safe point in an instant. Okay, on to the second pillar, resource allocation. This is where you get to play traffic cop. It's here that you decide exactly how much of the host server's power each of your virtual machines gets to use. So you can give your supercritical database server a ton of CPU cores and memory, while, say, a less important internal tool gets just the bare minimum it needs. It's all about having that precise, granular control. All right, now for the part I'm really excited about. Microsoft didn't just polish the old version here. No, Windows Server 2025 brings some major upgrades to Hyper-V. We're talking about a huge leap forward, especially for the kinds of modern workloads we're all dealing with now. And this first one is a total game changer: GPU partitioning. This finally unlocks the ability to run things like high-end engineering simulations or even AI model training directly inside secure, isolated VMs, which, trust me, used to be a massive headache. If your organization is running virtual desktops, graphics-heavy apps, or any kind of AI or machine learning inside your VMs, this is huge news. Here's another massive improvement, this one all about flexibility. It used to be that if you wanted to create a high availability cluster for VM failover, you absolutely had to have Active Directory. Well, not anymore. Now you can create these workgroup clusters that use certificates for authentication. This makes it so much simpler to build resilient setups in places like edge locations, small businesses, or even secure network zones where a full-blown domain controller just isn't practical. And it's not just about those big headline features. There are a ton of under-the-hood improvements, too. Virtualization-based security gets a big boost to better protect you from malware. There's new support for hardware like persistent memory, and features like Network ATC help automate really complex network setups. It all adds up to a platform that's way more robust and just easier to manage. So, while Hyper-V Manager is kind of the star of our show today, it's really important to remember that it doesn't live in a vacuum. It's actually part of a much larger ecosystem of tools, and a really smart admin knows which tool to grab for which job. This table just lays it out perfectly. Think of it this way. Hyper-V Manager is your classic go-to GUI for when you're working hands-on with a single host. When you need to zoom out and get a centralized overview of multiple servers, that's where the modern, web-based Windows Admin Center shines. And for real power, for automation and scripting at scale, that's when you turn to PowerShell, every time. So, with all these different tools and the huge rise of the cloud, you might be wondering, does this classic console really even have a place anymore? And the answer to that is an absolute, emphatic yes. It is still a cornerstone of how modern IT infrastructure is built and managed. And here's the crucial point. Virtualization is fundamental to both efficiency and security. It doesn't matter if you're on-prem or in a hybrid cloud, the basic principles of getting the most out of your hardware and keeping workloads separate are more important today than ever before. And Hyper-V is Microsoft's engine that makes all of that happen. Okay, let's just quickly lock in what we've learned. Hyper-V Manager is your central hands-on GUI for VM control. It's what lets you precisely divvy up CPU, RAM, and storage. The 2025 version is a big deal, adding powerful features for GPUs, clustering, and security. And finally, remember, it's just one piece of a bigger toolkit that also includes Windows Admin Center and PowerShell. And that kind of leaves us with one last big question to chew on. As automation tools like PowerShell get more and more powerful, letting us manage entire data centers with just code, what does that mean for the future of the classic graphical user interface, the GUI? Is it always going to be our go-to for hands-on tasks? Or will it slowly become a tool that we only use for learning and maybe some deep dive troubleshooting?